welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be starting a new series of kind of recommendation videos because I talk about things that aren't just books on this channel. Like, obviously I know Harry Potter is a book, but I talk a lot about Harry Potter, I talk about Marvel, I talk about Stranger Things, I talk about Disney. I really want to make videos kind of recommending books to fit into those genres because I know that you guys talk to me about those things as well. So I thought it'd be really cool to do like books for fans of this and books for fans of this. I've got 3 currently planned. Books for fans of Marvel and superheroes, books for fans of theatre. I'm so excited to do that one. And today's video, which is books for fans of Stranger Things. Basically, once I finished season 2 of Stranger Things, which was the season which really got me into the show, I just wanted to consume all of the things in the world that was similar because I was just so invested in this story. So I thought it'd be really cool to share with you some of the books that I read during that time that kind of eased me out of like feeling like I had to wait almost 2 years for season 3. It's almost 2019, it's almost upon us, but we've had to wait a long time and some of these books have like tied me over until this time. For those that actually don't know what Stranger Things is a show on Netflix and it's set in the 80s and it is about this boy called Will Byers that goes missing and they think that it's just a usual missing persons case until they realise there's a little bit more to the town of Hawkins and it's a bit more supernatural than one would think. Yeah, it's really cool. I thought the show was fantastic. I absolutely love season 2. Season 2 is what really got me into the show. I have 5 books to talk about and then 2 bonus ones. You'll see why they're bonus ones when I get to them. But here are some books for fans of Stranger Things. So the first book that I actually really want to share with you, which I found similarities to Stranger Things in, is a series called the Dyer Trilogy. So the Dyer Trilogy isn't a book that's set in the 80s, and there are a couple of 80s themed books in this, but this one is set in our time, modern time now, but it focuses on a girl called Mara who finds out that she actually has these abilities. Mara's power is that if she wishes death upon someone, that death does happen. And they go to a place called Horizons to help, which is like a therapy place to get help. That's kind of what it's advertised as. Turns out there's a lot more going down. There are some shady people. There are some shady like authority, government-y people that are trying to kind of push these powers to kind of manipulate the people into using their powers. And it just gets a lot more severe than one would initially think. And there's other characters that come into it that have different powers. And it's just very similar, I think, to kind of the Eleven and Dr. Brenner situation. I really love this series. I think this series is absolutely fantastic, despite the fact that Mara is actually, she's a teenager, she's not a kid, and it is set in our world. I do feel like if you really like Stranger Things and like that kind of aspect of it, this is a book which I feel like people would really enjoy. The original trilogy is 3 books long, obviously, because it's a trilogy. What am I on about? The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and The Retribution of Mara Dyer. And then there is a follow-up trilogy, which the first 2 books are out in now. So it's The Becoming of Noah Shaw and The Reckoning of Noah Shaw, and they follow directly on from the last book in the Mara Dyer trilogy, and this is the Shaw Confessions trilogy. Noah is a character which is very big character in the Mara Dyer ones, but I just think these are really good. I think if you like Stranger Things, you will like these books. There's lots to them, really big story building, kind of blows your mind sometimes. You're like, what's really happening, who's good, who's bad, who does this, what happens. So they have that same kind of element to them and they're really good. The next book is Firestarter by Stephen King, which is the book which I read immediately after finishing season 2 of Stranger Things. So this focuses on a man called Andy, and when he was in college, to get a little bit of extra money, he and the woman that he has now ended up marrying took part in a government trial test with their abilities, trying to see if they had them, to try to give them abilities, to push those abilities and see what they could be used for. It's essentially MK Ultra. That's pretty much what it is. That's what Eleven also experiences in Stranger Things. It's a program which is if it's not actually MK Ultra, very similar to MK Ultra and the tests that were done in MK Ultra. And he has now like grown up and got married and they've had a daughter, and his daughter, she has powers and she is able to kind of manipulate things. So for example, she manipulates a change machine, like a coin machine, a change machine, to give her the change, but also she causes uncontrollable fires which she doesn't want to control. She doesn't want to start them, she just gets very worked up and that's what happens, and she has no control of what it is that sets fire as well. So the government are very much on to the fact that she can do this and they are trying to find both Andy and his daughter. So they are on the run from these people that are trying to hunt them down to basically because they feel like they need to find her, so because of the powers that she has. Again, absolutely fantastic. This book was so good and so complex and had so much to it that it put me in a reading slump for a month. Which like isn't probably a way to sell a book, but it was so good that I didn't want to read anything else because it just blew my brain. Like, it was just amazing and so good and so detailed, and Stephen King is a fantastic author anyway, and it was just so good. I really feel like this is a book where if you like Stranger Things, you will enjoy this book. There's so much to it. There's just so much. The characters are so interesting. You get to see different perspectives from different things, and it's just a really interesting, fantastically written, brilliant novel, which I think fans of Stranger Things would really like. The next one is a little bit different because it is a graphic novel, but I do again feel like it's something which people would enjoy, and that is Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang. This graphic novel is set in 1988, so this one is set in the 80s as well, and it focuses on a bunch of 12-year-old girls who are just doing their usual paper round and, you know, delivering the daily papers to their neighbourhood, and then they stumble across something which isn't quite human and normal, and it all unfolds from there, and they come across this really big discovery, and it follows on through there. This is just volume 1. There are lots that carry on. There's lots of different volumes. It's so good. I absolutely love it. The illustrations are fantastic and the story is fantastic. It's really engaging. The characters are really cool, and it's definitely one I think that fans of Stranger Things would really like. Okay, this next one I think is just really obvious, and I think anyone would recommend it, but that is It, also by Stranger Things, also by Stephen King. This book is very different to the film. I think a lot of times the recommendations come from the films because Finn Wolfhard, who plays Mike in Stranger Things, plays Richie in the film, and the film, when they're children, is set in the 80s, whereas when they're children in this, it's set in the 60s. So I do would like the film, definitely. Like, if you love Stranger Things, you will love that film because it's just hilarious as well. It's really funny. This I feel like is the same. So this has scenes in it which definitely did not make it in to the movie, and I feel like were very unnecessary. But that aspect of these kids coming together to defeat this thing, this like evil thing, and kind of that like childhood like friendship and kind of bounding together to defeat this evil thing, and kind of this thing that feeds on fear and wants to kind of take control and has been doing so for so long, which obviously very much ties in with kind of the Upside Down. The Mind Flayer can like possess his will because he's really scared of it and kind of takes control and wants to take control. This is really similar kind of with Pennywise, who has taken the form of all the things that these kids find really scary. So this again, it's just like a bunch of children who are very much aware of something which makes their town of Derry very different and very scary, and kind of this threat that looms, which is kind of like in Stranger Things, where I guess like the adults aren't really aware of like what's going on in the town except for Joyce and Hopper. Everyone's kind of just blissfully aware that there's this government conspiracy going on, and the town's kind of underneath it's kind of being polluted by this upside down thing. So again, it kind of shows that children kind of aware of this, the children coming together to fight it, because they do say that children are kind of more like aware of like the supernatural things, which is something which you've seen in different horror films and horror books and stuff. So I do feel like fans of Stranger Things would like it. I feel like a lot of Stephen King books fans of Stranger Things would really enjoy. But yeah, so this is another one which I feel like people would really like. And then the last book is Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Crane. This is based on a podcast, by the way, as well. This book is was actually originally a podcast. Now this is a book which doesn't really have like focus on like the kids defeating like an evil, but it does focus on a town which is a little bit different from usual, like ghosts and aliens and government conspiracies. Those things are just normal. They just happen in this town, and it's these people in the town kind of living with this and dealing with all of this. But then the lives of two women mix together, and things kind of are gonna get even more weirder and even more kind of extreme than they already are. When I read this book, I didn't immediately think this is exactly the same. It really has that theme of like a small town, kind of weird things going on in that town, the government being involved, kind of extraterrestrial things being involved, and kind of things that aren't quite human and not quite what we're used to being involved, and the government kind of knowing things and not sharing and all that stuff. So the kind of themes and vibe is still there, even if it's not kind of the children defeating the evil thing, which I think is really cool, and I really like this one. So the bonus books which I wanted to talk about are actually Stranger Things books. So for those that may not know, they're doing a lot of things tying in with Stranger Things. The first thing that they've started to do is to release Stranger Things comic books. There's 2 so far, which is very exciting. So the first one is this one, which is just the Stranger Things one, and then this one as well, and it's so cool because if you turn them over, they like fit together, which is really cool. And these are basically what happened to Will when he was in the Upside Down, and they are so cool. Like, it's so interesting to see it all from Will's perspective, because obviously we just see everyone looking for Will and we don't actually go right into the Upside Down, only kind of near the end and at little bits. So this is Will's entire experience in the Upside Down, him talking back to Joyce when she's trying to communicate with him with the light and all of this, and it's such a cool comic book series. There's going to be 4 in total, so there's 2 more after these ones, and I'm so excited to read the rest of them because it's such an interesting insight. Also, another book which I think would be very good for fans of Stranger Things is this one. So I'm going to do a full review of this book and go through it in more detail. This is amazing. This is a world turned upside down, like behind the scenes, really detailed Stranger Things like information book. It looks really old, like it says Marvel General Store Fair on it, and it is so good. So you can kind of look through it, and that's the Morse code decoder. At the end of the pages there's Morse code and you can work out what the messages are. But it's like all these behind the scenes stuff and like all this information about it, and there's little hints and suggestions for season 3 as well. So this is definitely a must book for fans of Stranger Things. So yeah, so those were kind of the bonus ones, but mainly I wanted to talk about some fiction books which had similar vibes, similar kind of themes, and kind of had that same kind of like style to them as Stranger Things does, so that we can kind of get into the mood until season 3 comes out, because I mean, we've still got like 5-6 months to wait and I just want it now. I've waited for so long, so I've got to wait for longer, and I want season 3 now. And then looking at the behind the scenes pictures, and they just don't make sense. Like, I just can't figure out what's going on. Like, and I know you're not really supposed to. Sometimes they make sense, but like, I'm looking at these pictures like, what is happening in this season? Literally, where is Dustin? But yeah, I hope that you guys like these recommendations. Are there any of these books that you've read before? What did you think of them? Are there any that you're planning on reading? Are there any other books that you've read that you feel like had a similar vibe and that you'd recommend for fans of Stranger Things? Do let me know so we can discuss down below. Thank you for watching. If you are new here, then I make videos a couple of times a week about books and Harry Potter and fandomy things, so if you'd like to stick around and join us, then you can do that. I hope you're doing really, 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 really well, and I will see you next time. Bye!